Hey there guys, in today's video I speak with a professional animal behavior consultant on what exactly is animal behavior consultation. So if you've ever wondered things like what animals can this apply to, how does it work, what sorts of behaviors can be covered and addressed, you want to make sure you stick around because that's going to be coming up right after this. Hey there guys, this is Jack over at High Red Bird, where I am tirelessly working to find new ways to make the keeping of exotic animals and pets more exciting, more affordable, and ultimately more enjoyable. Now, when you are working with a pet or an exotic animal, you may find yourself hitting a behavioral roadblock. There may be things that you need to address, behaviors you want to build, but you just don't know exactly how to go about shaping and implementing those behavioral changes. If that is the case, reaching out to a professional animal behavior consultant may be the answer for you. In today's video, I speak with Cassie Molina of Awesome Animal Solutions, who does animal behavior consultation on a regular basis. She's worked with a wide variety of different animals. So in this video, we cover what sort of animals you can use animal behavior consultation to address different behaviors, what kind of behaviors can be addressed, and most importantly, what are the realistic expectations of animal behavior consultation? So if that is something you guys are interested in seeing, that's coming up right now. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Jack. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm very, very excited to be with Cassie Malina of Awesome Animal Solutions. She is an animal behavior consultant. And before we jump into what all that is and what that entails, Cassie, do you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Sure, absolutely. So I got my start with animal training professionally, I guess I would say, in 1998. So previous to that, I went to Penn State and I worked my summers at a little zoo in New York where I grew up. And then in 1998, I moved to Orlando to join Natural Encounters. And that was 2 weeks before Disney's Animal Kingdom opened to the public, and Natural Encounters had the contract there. So it was very exciting. And I was with Natural Encounters at Disney performing in the Free Flight Mixed Species Bird Show, and then as well in the Macaw Flyover Show. And I was there for over 20 years, up through 2020. With Natural Encounters, when I wasn't at Disney, I was on the road performing in zoos across the country. I also had the opportunity to consult on animal training at zoos all over the world, which was really fun. And I also participated in the workshops that Natural Encounters puts on. In 2020, I ventured off on my own and created Awesome Animal Solutions. And with that company, I am still training people and training birds and training animals, but now as a consultant. I've been a member of the IAATE for, oh my gosh, probably close to 20 years. I've been on the executive board, I think, since 2004. I also maintain my certification with the IATCB. I've taken LLA, and I think that's about it. So here I am today.
So it sounds like you have a good deal of experience working with birds and also a wide variety of other animals as well.
Yeah. And a lot of the work that I did was with free flight birds. So that's kind of a whole animal in its own, because it really, really forces you to be positive and find the most positive, least intrusive, effective strategies, because if the birds don't like what you're doing, they can just leave and not come back. So you have to be pretty sharp in order to make sure they're happy enough to want to come back.
Yeah. I guess any animal could technically do that, but with a free flight bird, you add a whole other dimension they can get away from you with.
Yeah, miles in a minute, right?
Okay, so we mentioned that you are an animal behavioral consultant. So what is animal behavior consultation?
Well, I guess for me, what it is help and support. So if we're talking about birds, for example, let's say we're talking about parrots. If you have a parrot that's giving you a lot of challenges, maybe your parrot is biting or screaming or destroying their feathers, or maybe they are being aggressive with one family member or some other family members. That's a great opportunity to get some consultation and get some help. But even if you don't have those challenges, if there's just things that you would love to do that you're not sure how to do, like training your parrot for voluntary scale or syringe or carrier or towel or harness, just about anything that you would think of that you might want to teach your animal to do, having a consultant there is the way to achieve that goal with some support. Sometimes when we're talking about parrots, going back to parrots again, if they have feather destructive behaviors, we as consultants, we always say go to a vet first and get a vet checkup. And what I've heard now from going to several conferences and speaking to a lot of veterinarians, avian certified veterinarians, is that if you have a bird that has feather destructive behavior, absolutely you want to seek a veterinarian's help, but you also want to get a behavior consultant at the same time. That's what the veterinarians are saying. If the bird starts mutilating or messing with their feathers and it's due to an underlying health condition, treating the health condition alone does not necessarily mean that you treat the feather destructive behavior, because once that behavior starts, it becomes a habit. I always compare it to biting your nails or some other habit you might have like that, where it becomes really hard to break. So that's just my one little bit of advice, is that if you have feather destructive or self-mutilation issues and you're consulting a veterinarian, I highly recommend you consult a behavior consultant at the same time, so that you can start helping that animal hopefully overcome those things before they practice it too much and it becomes a lot harder of a habit to break.
So it sounds like it can be used for both addressing negative behaviors, but also just moving forward with, things that you want to do that you just don't know exactly how to implement.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So I guess the question that a lot of people are going to have is, what animals can benefit from this?
So all animals can benefit from it. The really cool thing about animal behavior, when you dig real deep down, is that it's all based on the science of behavior change. And that science applies to all animals. So from amoebas to elephants, the principles are the same. So any animal can benefit from some training and some help. And yeah, just about any behavior that you can think of training, if the animal can perform that behavior naturally, if it's a behavior they might do in the wild, then that's something that we can help you with. Even if it's a behavior that maybe they wouldn't do in the wild, like getting on a scale or going under a towel, those are still behaviors that we can help with.
Awesome. So I guess, the question is, how does it work? How do your animal behavior consultation sessions work for people that want to sign up for them?
Yeah, great question. And so I offer both in-person and virtual sessions. I think one of the coolest things that came out of COVID, I know COVID didn't have a lot of great things, but one of the great things is that really taught us what you could do with technology. Once we were all forced in our homes, we all started Zooming and we all started looking at how we could do our jobs with a virtual component. And animal training, believe it or not, is one of those things. So right now, about 98% of my clients are virtual. I have clients all over the world and we get on Zoom. And so like if I was to do an in-person session with you, for example, I would come to your house and I would be standing right next to you, coaching you and teaching you and showing you how to train your bird. If we're doing it virtually, I'm just sitting right here behind you on a screen and I'm doing the exact same thing. So I'm there with you during the session and I'm coaching and I'm helping. And, when I've looked at it, I think there are some advantages, maybe some disadvantages to both. One of the advantages to being there in person is that I can model the behavior for you with your animal. But one of the advantages to being virtual is that at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be doing the training, and you're the one that has to practice the skills anyway. So we're diving right in there, and you're actually doing the training, and I'm just there coaching you. The other really cool thing about the virtual side of things is that I record all the sessions. So not only am I there helping you, but you get to rewatch it, and you can save it, and you can go back and watch it as many times as you want. So that's been really great.
Excellent. I mean, I know as an animal trainer, I always recommend recording training sessions, going back to rewatch them, not only to see what you're doing, but also sometimes if you hit a stumbling block, it can be really nice to see just how much progress you've made to give you a little bit more inspiration. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. And it sounds like since you are on the East Coast of the US, you do virtual sessions with people around the world. Basically, as long as they can find a time that, correlates with your time zone, you can make it work, right?
Yeah. And we've been good. I mean, probably one of the biggest challenges I've had is Australia. But usually around 6:30 p.m., 7 p.m. my time works for them. So we've been able to make that work. And, I just want to go back to what you said. I am a huge proponent of recording your training sessions. And that's something else that I offer too. So if people can't schedule with me, if the schedules don't match up, they can record their training session. They can send it to me. And what I'll do is I'll play it back, and I'll be there giving you the feedback as it's happening. And then you can go back and rewatch your training session with me in the corner, letting you know all the things that I see so that you can go and apply that to your next session.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are probably going to be wondering, you are a animal trainer with decades of experience. If they want to try to work on training their animals, are they going to be able to do that without an animal care or an animal training background?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. For me, I'm going, whenever we train an animal, we say that we go at the animal's pace. So we look at whatever the animal's experience is, and we start simple. We start with small behaviors that are easy for them to achieve, and we build from there. And so it's the same thing when I go into my consultations. I treat every one of my clients as an individual, and whatever experience they bring to the table, that's where we start. As far as understanding the science of behavior, whether you know the terms positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, that's great. And if you're interested in it, those are things I can provide, but it's not necessary to learn how to train your animals in the most positive, least intrusive way. At the very basic, at the core, the principles are pretty, I don't want to say simple, but they're pretty basic, right? So we know that all animals move towards things they want. They move away from things that they want to avoid. We also know that consequences drive future behavior. So we can look at the behavior of our animals without knowing all of the scientific words and say, is my animal doing this thing because they want to gain something they like? Is my animal avoiding this thing? Is my animal doing this thing because I'm forcing them to and they don't really like it? A lot of what we talk about too is building trust. So we talk about behaviors. What does it look like when an animal has trust? What does it look like when you're taking trust away? And everything really focuses on observable body language. So it's really, no matter what your skill level, it's really about just learning to read your animal's body language and start to see how does what I do affect what they do, and what is the consequence. And if the consequence is positive from the animal's perspective, they're going to do that behavior more from their perspective. If the consequence is not positive from their perspective, they're going to change what they do to try and gain more favorable consequences. And so what we're doing is we're trying to set up the environment so our animals do the behaviors we're hoping for to gain consequences that they like.
Awesome. So you mentioned obviously observing your animals, seeing how that interaction is going. Earlier, we were talking about the virtual sessions. You were saying that the person who is signing up for those is ultimately going to be the person training their animals. I get the feeling this is going to entail a little bit more than just signing up for a weekly session. There may be some other things that they're needing to do to work with their animals. So I guess what all does animal behavior consultation entail so that they have the best chance of being successful?
That's a great question. So I do offer single sessions, but I always recommend that people sign up for a package. And it could just be a 3-session package, or depending on what they want to work on, it might be a 6-session package, or it might be more. But the reason that I really encourage packages is because if you sign up for one session, you get all the information, you put it on the shelf, and maybe you try some things, and then life happens and you kind of forget about it and it falls at the wayside. But if you sign up for a package and you're going to see me again, then you're going to practice the skills that you learn, because there's going to be another session coming up where you're going to show what you've been working on. And that's really where the benefit is, because when you're looking at changing behavior or training a new behavior, it's really about practice, right? It's about creating new habits. And I read somewhere, I think it's something like, if you do something 23 days in a row, it becomes a new habit, something like that. So when you do a package, you're committing to practicing. So you're committing to creating better habits. So as far as what it entails, usually what it entails is the actual session, which usually lasts approximately an hour. Could be a little more, could be a little less. If your animal's really into training, we're going to keep going until they're done, right? We're not going to cut it short. And then we have the follow-up session that we'll do sometime down the road. And that's all dependent on the person and their schedule. It could be they want to meet weekly. Some people prefer to meet bi-weekly. Some people prefer to meet every 3 weeks. Usually when we're getting started, every 2 weeks is usually pretty good. And then once we get on a roll, then people maybe will taper off and just check in maybe once a month or something like that. In between the sessions, of course, I'm always available to check in if there's challenges, if they're stuck, they can send me a video, all of those things. It's kind of a little bit of homework, but the idea is that it shouldn't feel like work. It should feel like fun. And what I find is that as the people and the animals start going, the people get so excited by the progress that they're seeing that it kind of jumpstarts them and inspires them to want to keep going.
And I think that's a great point to bring up, that it should feel like fun. If someone is signing up for animal behavior consultation, it's because they're wanting to improve their relationship, improve their interactions with their animal. So I think it's really important to focus on that. But it sounds like it's really one of those things that you get out of it what you're willing to put into it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I guess another question a lot of people are going to have, how long is it going to take? How long before they can expect to see results with their animal?
That's a great question too. So, in the animal training world, one of the phrases that we hear most often these days is "it depends," right? Everybody always says it depends, because every animal is an individual. Every person is an individual. Life happens. There's a hurricane coming through right now, so that changes things, right? So it always depends. But the first thing that I think is really helpful in creating some relatively quick progress is an animal that is motivated to train for some treats. And a lot of times people hear the word treat and they think, oh, it's something unhealthy, it's something fattening, it's something I don't want to give my animal too much of. And it doesn't have to be that. Treat really means something that is of high value to the animal, something that they really like. Sometimes it can be something that maybe is a little more fattening. So like, for example, if we're thinking about parrots, right? Seeds and nuts. And in the wild, they're eating seeds and nuts. So we know that's a natural part of their diet. And we know that it's good for them to have some. But we also know from years of experience, if they get too many, that can create health risks. So the nice thing about training is you're not giving your bird all of these free nuts and seeds where they can just gorge and gain weight, but you're offering them for performing desired behaviors, which usually means mental stimulation, hopefully some physical exercise. And so your animal is going to become healthier because now they're exercising, now they're using their brain, now they're becoming enriched, and they're only getting those high value treats for doing the learning. So they're not, just sitting there, just eating and eating and eating it. But again, even like when I think about dogs, right? You think about dog treats. There's some really healthy dog treats out there these days that dogs love. I find a lot of freeze-dried liver, freeze-dried turkey, these freeze-dried meats that are pure, there's no added chemicals, and the dogs go crazy for them. So that is for me kind of the number one thing, is finding some sort of food treat that the animal likes. If you have that, then you can see progress in the first session. Within the first hour, you can see progress. And when you're thinking about what your goals are, what I say is you have your main goal. This is your big goal. And then you break that down and you have small goals that you're meeting in order to get there. So as far as how long it takes, well, it might take 6 weeks to get here. But if you're setting these small achievable goals, you're going to see that progress every week, every session that you have. If you have an animal that's not motivated to train for food rewards, then it can go a little bit slower. Because again, when we're looking at training, we're thinking about setting up the environment so that the animal wants to do the behavior we're asking, but we're also looking at the consequences. And so we have to find a valuable consequence for the animal so that they want to practice and learn the behaviors. If you have a dog that will learn things to play with a ball or for tummy rubs, then that's great, and you can get to training. But without something of value to offer, it can go a little slower.
Okay. Well, and so it sounds like in addition to the animal behavior consultation, working with the animal itself, you offer advice and tips on picking a good reinforcer for your animals and setting up the training space.
Yes, that's the beauty of the decades of experience that I've had with Natural Encounters. Natural Encounters has, like, if I had to guess, they probably have somewhere around 600 birds, right? And so I've really had the opportunity to work with so many animals and so many people that it's really helped me to be a better communicator. And it's also helped me because I've done things from the ground up, I have a really good understanding of all of the aspects that come into animal care. Whether we're talking about the environment, like, again, thinking about parrots, how we're setting up their cage to make them the happiest they can be, to afford them more opportunities. We did a lot of basic vet care. So looking at fecals, knowing when it's time to get a veterinarian involved. As far as choosing diets, choosing treats. I mean, just about anything that you can think of. If I don't know a little bit about it, I know some people to ask.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you offer quite a few different services depending on exactly what people are needing, that you tailor them to their individual needs. So I guess the last question people will have, or depending on the person, the first question they may have, what can they expect in terms of cost? Or do you have somewhere where you have a breakdown or an estimate of what those costs could be?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's always the ultimate question. And again, it depends. So I do have the cost listed on my website. I do offer lots of different services. So I offer services for companion animals and pets, but I also offer services for organizations or zoos or things like that. So the pricing really varies based on the project. But like I said, the prices are listed on my website. The other thing that's really important to me is I really love to help. And while I know I can't give it away for free because I need to pay my bills, I'm always willing to work within the person's budget. So I'm always willing to kind of look at a price that's going to work for them. I will say also that when you get packages, you get discounts. So there's always a discount for signing up for a package versus signing up for just one session.
Okay, and you mentioned working with different organizations as well, rather than just individuals. So by that, do you mean, national organizations like the American Federation of Aviculture, or is this something people can sign up for, maybe their bird club? What do you mean by how those groups work?
That's a great question. So I have given talks at different conferences. You and I met at the AFA conference this year. And I've also given talks for bird clubs. So if you have a bird club, again, the beauty of virtual, right? So I've given several talks for some parrot clubs. And then I've also helping out with facilities. So if you have a bird collection or an animal collection, if you're a zoo or a wildlife center, if you're looking to make some changes, if you're looking to train more for voluntary vet procedures, trainers, if you're looking to create educational programs, if you're looking to create a show or an experience for the public, these are all things that I offer. So I'm kind of have my hands in anything and everything animal training, education, presentation, keeping, all of those things.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So obviously I will put your website down in the description section of this video, and I'm sure it includes all of your contact information if people would like to reach out to you.
Yep.
Well then, is there anything else you would like people to know?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, not that I can think of. I guess for me, when I envisioned, when I created, when I hatched Awesome Animal Solutions, the thought behind it for me was that I think that all animals are awesome. I think all animals have amazing potential. I think that their natural adaptations and their skills are awe-inspiring. And I think that with collaboration, we can come together and create solutions to just about any challenge that we have on the table. And so I'm just very passionate about teaching. I'm very passionate about helping, collaborating, and really just helping, not only helping the animal reach their fullest potential, but really helping the people have, the best relationship with their animals that they could hope for.
That sounds absolutely amazing. And I think there are so many people who could definitely benefit from a service like this. And so many people who've probably had questions or been hesitant about reaching out for a service like this just because they didn't know exactly what it entailed.
Yeah.
So I guess thank you so much for sharing with us.
I do need to say a special thank you to my patrons on Patreon. By signing up to support this channel, they help me make more tutorials and videos showcasing animal care possible. If you'd like to find out more about subscribing to my Patreon, you can find the link in the description section down below. Thanks so much.